محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والسيد المرسلين، حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا، صاحب السكينة المدفونة في المدينة، المبعوث رحمة للعالمين، أبو القاسم محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذي أذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا، ولعنة دائما على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى يوم قيام الدين. قال جل جلاله في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This verse in which I read is from Surah or chapter 14, Surah Ibrahim, where God says He gives a parable of a good word is like a good tree, that its roots are firm, its branches are in the heaven. And then He goes on to talk about that with the permission of God, it gives fruit, abundance of fruit, so people can benefit from it. This verse and the verse that comes after it, where God talks about the sajara that's khabith, that is bad, that's evil, where basically it has no foundation and has no benefit to humanities, has no stability as well, it can be easily fallen down. If you look upon our lives, you'll see that what really makes an individual is based in similarities upon what we just talked about, these two trees. That either a person is embedded with good words and he's like a tree himself that benefits and people can take the fruit off, or God forbid, he's a person that is within him the vices of bad intention and bad words, that his stability to himself is bad because he's not really on any type of foundation, no religion. And later on we'll find that these people are the ones that even they're unstable to themselves, but they become this instability, driving factor to humanity, to society. Everything starts with a niyyah. Everything that we start in terms of our action will be judged upon what we thought with. And this is similar to a tree, because the tree, if you look at it, it had to start from a point, and that point was the seed. And within Bani Adam, whatever seed you plant within yourself, then that, of course, depending as well what you feed yourself, what in terms of the foundation, where you're going to put that seed, what nutrients are going to give it to it, that tree will either flourish and be fruitful for many people. And not just fruit, because we know, we'll see later on that trees not only give fruit, but they also give protection. They also feel. Scientists have proven that trees also feel. But we according, if you had read your narrations and you know about the facts that Ahl al-Bayt have taught us, we already know this. We already know that everything that God has ordained in this world, that's tasbih to God Almighty. And we'll see that when you look at this, that whatever you possess in terms of your qualities from inside of you, then this will have a reflection upon other people. What we are trying to do as servants of God Almighty, and that's why one of the greatest ever things that's going to be weighed on the day of judgment is husn al-khulq, your morality. That's one of the heaviest things that's going to be worth something on the scales in the hereafter. What we are trying to do is that by having good words, we are trying to instill that seed that I told you about, that's fruitful, inside the hearts of Bani Adam, inside the hearts of other people. And we'll see that this seed, when God talks about this sajara, the tayyibah, this good virtue tree that people can benefit of, we'll see how one tree is associated to Ahlul Bayt and the Holy Prophet, and the other tree to the enemies, such as Bani Umayyah. These are what the narrations say. So when we look at trees, what I told you before about some fascinating facts, and then you can say to yourself, wow, this thing that I thought was just a benefit to nature is in fact a benefit to humanity in its own secret language. Trees, scientists say this, and if you don't take my words, Google it. You know, trees, they say when a tree gets cut, it actually screams in pain. But the frequency is that high that we can't hear about it. Trees that are float like and in need of like water actually cry. And above all this, trees connect to one another to help one another. You know how we have the network, the World Wide Web? They call it the wide wood web, because the roots of a tree, you know how they spread through the earth, it's like cables, optic cables connecting to one another. How does the tree benefit other trees and protect other trees and give nutrients to other trees? And even before it dies, it gives whatever nutrients it has left to other trees, so the other trees can benefit, knowing that it's going to depart from this world. And in this, you'll see that we ourselves can be so related to this tree. You know, trees, for starters off, when a tree is in danger, when a tree is being attacked by an animal, such any type of animal that's eating the trees release this special chemical through the air that warns other trees that I am being attacked. So the other tree can change its structure or essence of the leaves so it doesn't draw that attacker to that tree. That's one aspect. Secondly, bigger trees can feel the other trees that are around them that are basically in need of nutrients. So they send the sugar and nutrients through the roots to help the other trees. So one's protecting, one's given nutrients, and what did I say? There's still one more. When the older tree knows that it's coming to its end of its life, do you know what it does? It sends whatever left, it knows it's going to depart, sends whatever left of its nutrients to the trees next to it so they can live. SubhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that when you connect yourself to the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, which I've later on explained, he's saying that this tree, you can be like a tree. You can be a tree. As a true servant of God Almighty, as a true representative of the Ahlul Bayt in this dunya, like the Ahlul Bayt did. Go and look at their history. In majority of the times, their enlightenment to give hope to other people were words. The Quran is words. So, and you look, hadith are words, but they all have this everlasting effect. And what they're saying, first of all, that when you have good words, you're sending words to other people to protect them. Like the tree protected them, you're warning other people that this is the right path, this is the wrong path. So even when you look at famous speeches, the speech of Fadak by Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, she's trying to warn people that what you are doing is wrong. This is God has already ordained a system in place that you should, that my father, and she tells him several times, it's my father, the Holy Prophet. He's come to warn you. He took you out of this filth. He brought you out of the dhulumat into the nur, out of this darkness into light. Words, her words, but the words are everlasting. They have an effect. Famous speeches like Zainab alayhi salam, for instance, in front of a tyrant. She didn't have an army. It was words. The Quran, again, as I said, is words. So words can be, as the tree, they can be used as a means of protection, as a means of warning other people. Next, what we say, nutrients. How the trees send nutrients to other trees that are in need. Words send nutrients to other people. Your words are that powerful. It could be the difference of leading someone, God forbid, to further despair or giving them hope. It can build relationships or it can burn them. So these are what I'm saying, that the nutrients, when it comes to that word that God has said, is powerful than any sword or any army, because it's in fact the words that do the inspiration to armies. It's the words that inspire people. And on top of all this, what do we say? That when a tree is about to die, what does it do? It sends whatever nutrients left in the other trees can benefit from. Did Ahlul Bayt not send us? Did they not? Ahlul Bayt in Quran, especially Ahlul Bayt, who were the walking, talking, living manifestation of the Quran, before they died, all the knowledge that they left, they gave to their followers and said to them, hold on to these kanz, this treasure. And that's why the Ahlul Bayt have said that our words are nur, our light, they're a light, they're a guidance to you. And subhanAllah, sometimes you find that you're in that moment of giving up, and a hadith comes and says, wow, those words are touching, because those words are touching because they're coming for the most touchful, the most loving, the most merciful people, and that is none other than Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Allah. So when we look at this, even when you think about it, when a person dies, the hadith says when a person dies that everything stops except three things. Except three things. They said the three things are, there's a sadaqah jariyah, a continuous charity. And then they say that a son that prays, or son or daughter, a righteous soul that prays for them. And lastly is knowledge that people can benefit. If you see the driving force of each one of them, it's words. How does a son or a daughter, how are they going to pray for their loved ones? Isn't it dua, words? Charity, an everlasting charity, for instance, like say you invested in a mosque or a Husayniyah, what happens in these things? Do people just sit there silent, or do they come to listen to words? Even, let's say, even if it's a charity, even if it's for an orphanage, but inside the orphanage, to give hope to the orphans, I'm guaranteed those people that are working there would use words. So, and then of course the righteous son we said, and benefit, knowledge that they can benefit from. Whether they leave a book behind, they read a narration behind, but then you look at all these are connected back to what? To words. And then if we go back to the narration, or the verse in which I said that the parable of a good word is like a good tree, and then God says automatically that the parable of a bad word is like a bad tree. Well, the good tree, if you look at our essence, our whole religion is based on, sometimes you hear the word usul ad-din or furu' ad-din, don't you? You hear the usul are like the roots of a religion. So, the usul, what are they? Tawheed, monotheism, Nabuwa, believing in the prophets, Adala. The Adala mentioned the just system. And then you've got Qiyamah, the day of judgment, and most importantly, the Imama, Waliyya. That's for a Muwali. And subhanAllah, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam says that the most important of them is the Waliyya. Because it's the Waliyya that shows you how to worship God properly. It's the Waliyya that tells you that in fact that the true infallibility and the divine characters of the prophets. It's the Waliyya that tells you about justice, about the day of judgment, everything. Because even on the day of judgment, you will not be able to pass the sirat without the Waliyya. That's what we call usul ad-din. The furu' ad-din, you all know them. Salah, Siyam, Zakat, Hajj, Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi an al Munkar, Tawalli, Tabarra, to follow Ahlul Bayt, to stay away and to make open the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt. Khums, they're all your branches. So when the foundation is good, then the tree itself now becomes good. Then you actually know the meaning of how your salah will be fruitful. Your zakat will be fruitful. The way in which you do in terms of amr bil ma'ruf and nahy an al munkar, enjoining the good and forbidding the evil is good. Your hajj will be good. Everything becomes fruitful. And it's the opposite. When the foundation is bad, the roots are bad, that stability of everything that they show, because at the end of the day, we see a lot of people that claim to be Muslims, and they're like these trees that we said to, but really they're unfruitful. And that's the purpose. If I said to you now, the purpose of an apple tree is to do what? To give you apples. So no matter what, even if it looked like an apple tree and it didn't give you apples, then what was the use of it? It's known as an apple tree. I'm supposed to benefit from it. And that's why the religion judges people not on the outside character, but what's on the inside. And that's what's important. Going back to what I said, the narration, when they talked, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, and this is the narration from the Holy Prophet, he says that the sajara, that is the good tree, the roots of it is none other than the Holy Prophet. The trunk of it, the main part of it, is none other than Ali bin Abi Talib. The branches of it, of course, are none other than Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. When I say Ahlul Bayt, meaning also Fatima al-Zahra, because she is, of course, basically the essence of the Imams. And then now for you lucky people, they say, and the leaves of the tree are our pious Shia. And subhanAllah, he says pious Shia. He doesn't say any Shia. He says people that know and God-fearing. And subhanAllah, why this is connected to wording? Because when God says in another narration, in talking to our scholars, when they say that this kalam at-tayyib is this good word, they say it's a divine word. He's saying, does everything that comes out of my mouth have to be divine? Yes. What do you mean it's divine? How can it be divine? In simplicity, it's easy. So in simplicity, it sounds pretty easy. But in action, it's hard. When they say what comes out of your mouth has to be divine, basically, the driving force of it is taqwa. So what he's saying here is that before I think about what I'm about to say, that thought has to be, have I got an answer for this on the day of judgment? That's why the biggest sins in the Islamic faith are, what are they? Besides killing, besides adultery, ghiba, is that a sin or not? Backbiting, do you need words? Of course you do. Gossiping, namima, is that words? Yes. Spying and talking about people, words. That's why the Quran says, sometimes it says, al-fitna ashaddu min al-qatl. Causing mischief is worse than killing. Because you've planted that virus that's going to cause a catastrophe within that place or ummah. So when we look at this, the power of words is something that the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam have said, that if you look at someone, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that a mu'min will be judged basically on two things. He says that al-kalima at-tayyiba is sadaqah, is charity, and which we kind of explain now. He says, wal-kalima al-khabitha ithm. He says that the bad word is what? Is ithm. It's like a sin, it's bad. And so when we look at this, why words are so powerful? Because even going back to the scientific factor, there's a professor by the Japanese professor by the name of Musurio Emoto. You can check this up. Dr. Japanese Musurio Emoto, what he did in 1994 to show you what words have an effect on people, on water, He got several glasses of water. On the water, he didn't even put what he was going to experiment inside the water. He did for the majority of him, he wrote on the outside of the glass things like in one set of glass he put like love, compassion, mercy, caring, and he put water in that. Then on the other glasses he put hate, evil, kill, like very bad words. He put them onto the other glasses. Then he froze them. Then when he looked into the microscope to check him, subhanallah, the words that were the water that was connected to words of compassion and love and hope and so forth, the crystallization of the molecules of the water were so symmetrical, so perfect. He says you couldn't even draw it. That's how perfect it was. And then the other words, the ones that had the factor of, bad words, he said they were all deformed. SubhanAllah, can I ask you a question now here? How much of your body is made up of water? About 70%. 70% of your body is made up of water. 70%. Another thing, even though what's around your brain is what? That protects it, water. So basically, you've got a being here that's full of water. This scientist is saying that water, that good words either affect the individual in a positive manner or in a non-positive manner or bad manner. On top of all this, studies in other universities have shown you, listen to this, the studies in universities have shown you, they have studied that when I say good words, or when a person says good words, there's something called the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that should really activate in terms of, this is the part of your brain that does empathy, that looks for decision making, that has creativity, that it's the main thinking part of your brain. When you use good words and make an individual feel comfortable, that part of the brain is what it does. It releases serotonin. Well, so you know what serotonin is, don't you? It's the hormone that makes you happy, or oxytocin. But on the opposite, and this is very important to understand that the Ahlul Bayt have already mentioned this before about how a person is judged when it comes to their character when they speak into words. When a person feels threatened, there's a part in your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is basically the fear center. So why am I saying this? Is that when people hear like kill or, God forbid, you're useless or anger or threats, the amygdala deals with it. And this, what it does, this sends another hormone called cortisol into your body. That's called the stress hormone. That's why people start stressing out. But the difference between the good hormone and the bad hormone is that a person basically has that opportunity, according to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and according to them, that you have a position or a chance to stop, think, and then pretty much like a computer, absorb the input of what you just put in and then give out the output. So what I'm saying here, they have something called the 3-second rule. Listen to this. Why they say 3 seconds is subhanAllah, Ahlul Bayt have already told us about this. See, when someone threatens you or you get angry or you're put into a harsh environment, someone like pretty much, or someone cuts you off in the traffic jam and you start boiling up, Ahl al-Bayt have said that before you react, say you're sitting down, stand up. Or if you're standing up, sit down. Or if you're in a situation where you can leave the room and do wudu, do it. Why do they say this? Because remember I said one part of your brain is relaxed, the prefrontal cortex. The other part is the threat center. When someone does something like that to anger you, automatically what you do, you bypass the prefrontal cortex and you jump over to the amygdala. That's why you say things sometimes and you regret it after. Because what happens, that part of the brain didn't get a chance to think. So when Ahl al-Bayt said, they call it the 3-second rule. Give yourself 3 seconds before you say something out. Ahl al-Bayt have already said that, change your position, because the moment that you change your position, the prefrontal cortex works into place, and then what happens? You can actually have a chance to make something go, look, what am I getting angry for? Why is this, something so stupid? I'm not going to benefit from it. And subhanAllah, to know the inside of a person, to know what type of person it is on the inside, because the intention could be there, I want to do I want to be a good person. But once the environment changes, then you know what type of person it is. Then you know if that seed that he's planted with him is in fact a good seed or a bad seed. My brothers and sisters, everyone once in this world, everyone's a sailor. Everyone is a sailor. When I'm talking about, the fact is that when your boats are parked in the harbor and it's all calm, everyone becomes beautiful and a captain. I can do this and that. But when the storms hit, you'll see who the real captains are. And that's what God says. I know that in this, when everything's going your way, mashallah, everyone becomes their own captain, everyone's relaxed. But through a real storm, through someone abusing you, through someone even saying something that wasn't even true about you, when you're going through this storm, then I see who are the real captains. They know how to steer through the storm. And this is what Ahl al-Bayt taught us. How many times did people come to the Ahl al-Bayt and abuse them? The person that came to Imam Hassan al-Mushtaba, he comes all the way from Sham, from modern-day Syria, and because, that was an area that was known, the haters, it was like the seed. This is what Bani Umayyah is. This is what they planted there. They'll plant these seeds of these people, and then they come to Medina, and what he did, he'll threaten Imam Hassan al-Mushtaba. You, God forbid, you son of so-and-so, like in a bad way, or your mother, bad. What does he do? He says, Adunnuka gharib. I see that you are a stranger. If you need a house, we'll shelter you. If you need clothes, we'll clothe you. If you need money, we'll give you money. Like this guy, then he's shocked. They told me that you're the opposite over there. But through words, what happened? He changes, and then this person becomes a lover and respect of the Ahl al-Bayt. So when we find all this, you'll find that going back to our narrations, there's a narration by Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. It's beautiful. Listen to this. He says, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir says that the word that you say reaches the heavens before the deed does. How does this work? Give me an example of something. The word that you say reaches the heavens before the deed does. You're saying, I don't understand. Can you give it more in a more easy manner to explain? I'll give you a more easy manner to explain. The sun, what does it offer? Besides the photosynthesis, what does it offer to us as humans? Two things. Light and what? Yeah, and heat. Heat, yeah. So that's in terms, it does offer vitamin D in terms of your, after when it reacts, but it's two things, warmth and light. If the sun was to disappear now, how long do you reckon it takes before the earth goes in complete blackness? About 7 to 8 minutes. 8 minutes, yeah. 8 minutes. Now, the question is, what actually hits us first? Light or the heat? Light, yeah. Light is the quickest moving, basically, thing in the world. It's moving at 300,000 kilometers per second. So what happened? That's why it takes a while, for things to heat up. Because, by the sun comes. But light has hit you, hasn't it? Then you feel the heat. Now, subhanAllah, exactly what I just said now. When a person, depending what type of person you are, what type of word comes out of you, what you say is light. When I said what you say is light, then the effect of it is the heat. That heat can be a heat that is beneficial, that gives warmth, comfort to people. Or, God forbid, it could be the heat of radiation that can be harmful for people. See, this is how it is. And if you look at the narrations, why he said that the word pretty much goes up to pretty much rise before the deed, because the Quran says this. Quran says, إِلَيْهِ يَسْعَدُ الْكَلِمِ الطَّيِّبِ. Allahu Akbar. God says that to him, يَسْعَدْ الْكَلِمَ الطَّيِّبِ. To him that the good word will rise. And then he says, and then of course the righteous deed will help him. Everything, normally like that, this is how it is with life, isn't it? That something has to be heated, and then it just starts to rise up. It makes an effect so people can benefit from it. And on top of all this, if you look at the narrations, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, Al-lisan maqyas al-aql. You can't get more powerful than this. He says the tongue is the scale of what your intellect is. And then he says that the word that comes out of his mouth will judge what type of aql he has, what type of intellect he is. On top of all this, you find that the Ahl al-Bayt said that the most people of hell are in hell is because of their tongue, because of what they said. And then Imam Zayn al-Abidin has another narration to give you the confidence. He says the best thing that God is like worshipped with is, of course, the tongue. SubhanAllah, you know how they say in Arabic, in a narration, they say, Hajama saghir, the size of it is small, wa ithma kabir, but its effect is very big. How many wars, how much, like I said, how much people have been misled, deviated, killed because of words. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the light of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And he said that, you know what? These other people, no matter what they stand for, eventually their tree is going to die. But the words of Ahlul Bayt, it's a promise. It's a promise from God. They are trying to distinguish the light of Ahlul Bayt, but God says, I'm going to keep this light alive. And the light of their life, or the light that is alive, is their teachings. And for us to have that teachings in us and to be followers of the Ahlul Bayt, one last thing before I finish, to understand the factor of how important it is that, again, going back to what they have, there's a psychological and therapy, what they try to teach people to be careful what they say. They call it the think. They call it the think factor. Basically, the think factor is that the word think, you think about it, and then they say, use this as something to encourage people. The think for I wanted to get it. It's from a university, psychology, and they've used it on normal people. They've used it on even prisoners. They use it on prisoners, and what they say: think of the word think. If you answer no to any of these things, it shouldn't come out of your mouth. The first thing, T, is it true? What you're about to say, is it true? Okay, and sometimes it could be true. Secondly, H, is it helpful? I, is it inspiring? Is it inspiring? Because sometimes it could, going back to the T, it could be true, but it could not be what the next one is. Is it necessary? The N, and the last one is a kind. If you answer no to any of these, you shouldn't come out of your mouth. Just know this. I remember seeing one of our great scholars who was actually passed away close to 18 years now, he says, the way that I used to encourage myself to make sure that I'm always on this taqwa, this piety, he knows that I know in the grave and I know on the day of judgment that everything that came out of my mouth, I have an answer. I've got to have an answer for it. Basically, this is my formula that I used in order to make sure that I keep myself from only saying good words. Lastly, train yourself at least 10 minutes a day to have a moment of 10 minutes of complete silence. And you're saying, what's this? What do you mean? I'll tell you what it means. This, because Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam have said, as Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, he said that silence is wisdom. And he said to him, don't say anything that you're going to regret later on. The benefits of having this 10-minute silence, when I say 10-minute silence, I mean complete 10 minutes of silence. Basically, putting your phone away, not even vibrate, and training your mind for 10 minutes silence. What this does, I'm going to read you what it does. They call it the cognitive distance. When you pause before speaking, even for just a few seconds, your mind creates a small space between your feelings and your words. This is very important. So what happens? We said that within you, there's fighting forces. When you blurt something out, that's the power of your anger and the power of your desires ruling over that of your intellect. So what they're saying here, they're saying when you learn to be quiet, you're trying to, like I said, power up the prefrontal cortex compared to the amygdala. And then it says, in simple terms, you step back from your emotions instead of being controlled by them. This is very important. When you step back from your emotions, don't let your emotions rule on top of you, then you're more likely to give the right decision. So it stops you from getting angry. It stops you from just blurting things out. It stops you from this frustration turning into an insult. You stop your hurt from being hurtful words. By creating even a small gap, your brain has time to think instead of react. This is what it is. Time to think before you react. So it becomes much easier not to say something that you're going to regret. Your mind returns to calm, your heart regains control, and your words become wiser. So we've learnt, and you can say this topic can go for more and more and more, but what we've learnt is that to be a good tree, you have to be connected to a good tree. And that is, of course, Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. To think, to use the things like the 3-second rule, to have, basically use even the think formula. All these are part of an individual to hopefully make that tongue of them become a tongue of honey and not a tongue which is that of a sword and easily cuts and injures other people. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the appearance of Imam al-Hujjah first. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He does not take us out of this world except that He's pleased with us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ziyarah of Ahl al-Bayt fil dunya wa shafa'atun fil akhirah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy upon our loved ones, especially those that have gone to the next world. هذه وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد رب العالمين وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات المسلمين والمسلمات خاصة our beloved scholars رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة مع صلاة على محمد وآل محمد